لنتابع سويا وعلى الهواء مباشرة أحداث المباراة التي ستقام بعد دقائق بين منتخبنا الوطني ومنتخب البرازيل، وذلك ضمن مباريات كأس العالم للناشئين والمقامة حاليا في كندا، مع دعواتنا لمنتخبنا بالفوز في هذه المباراة والمباراة القادمة إن شاء الله.
As they will try to set things up in their own end. We'll watch the two systems develop in the early going of the game and see who is going to use what. Shaglin moves it up ahead for the Saudis. That's Zihad, number 11, after it. Missed it, gets it back now. They try to move it in, helping him out, Marzouk. He will twist and turn. Being pressured there, and the Brazilians able to move it back out. Pretty good supporting contingent from both sides.
And always, as Sam was impressive, you know, you've always got the drums, the rhythm of the Brazilian team, and you'll see that happening a great deal as the game. You'll hear this background noise, and it is the noise of the drummers in the crowd from the Brazilian contingent in Montreal.
I'm just going to say they were warming up even before the game, and you get that real international feeling.
Always testing in the early stages of the game. Players are nervous. They just want to settle down, get a touch of the ball. Brazil obviously want to get that goal.
Aziz on the far side, that was number 10, trying to punch it in towards the net. It'll come back. Rogerio trying to move in. He runs into heavy traffic. Rogerio moving it up there. Alberto! Goal! And I believe they're calling that offside. The referee waving the goal off, and that will not stand.
Yes, you couldn't really see it on the screen, but there, a clear case of offside where the player receiving the ball only had the goalkeeper to beat. And you can see he's just trying to get a little bit too far forward of the green defenders, and even though his shot is a tremendous one which beats the goalkeeper cleanly, clearly a good call there by the linesman.
Alberto with a good shot as he curled it in, and a pretty keen eye from Dick Howard to pick that out. I think about 5,000 or so people disagreed with you on that,
including most of the people on the Brazilian bench.
Making headway, Moshaid up on the near side. Ferdinand. Marzouk. And his aim was not through.
Excellent start to the game, but when you see, you know, two quality attacks like the first one by the Brazilians, you know, and
Soviet referee in this game. First line judge is Korean, and the two other officials rather, are Canadian. Carlos for the Brazilians, the keeper. He will move it up. No score. Early going. I'm Paul Romanoff with Dick Howard. Great to have you with us here on TSN for under 16 FIFA World Cup action. First tournament held in China a few years back. Heavy traffic. Moussa up to knock it away. The Saudi keeper. Shagin, number 3 for the Saudis, couldn't control it. Albea moves it in. Centeno. Moussa's there.
Excellent opening to the game. Continue there. Plays for the Portuguese club in Brazil. Obviously a player of the future, but what an opening for the game. The first few minutes we've had 2 clear opportunities, one at each end of the field, and a goal disallowed.
No score as the ball's moved up by Fernand, and that will go into touch along the line. Dick, a bit about that new throw-in rule.
Well, it's a very good rule, actually, because it's designed to stop players cheating a little bit and trying to gain an advantage by moving further down the line than when the ball went over for a throw-in. And if that happens, the other team gets possession of the ball. And it's a new rule by FIFA, but certainly a very good one.
Moshaid with the throw-in, forwarded up by Alzabet. The Brazilians so good with that ball. We'll talk about that as the game goes on. They are perhaps the Gretzkys of the soccer world, the way they are so nimble and quick in heavy traffic with that ball. It really is a pleasure to watch, even if they're not winning all the time.
Tremendous athleticism, really, about Brazilian football. Jose Teixeira there, the Brazilian coach, has really molded an exceptional team. Always a great deal expected, though, of Brazilian teams. When you put on that yellow jersey, you know, you're looking at a team that's been in every World Cup at the senior level, has won the last 2 youth tournaments, and is expected to do very well in this tournament. A lot expected of this team, but there's a lot of talent on the field on both sides tonight.
Albea tackled. That was Shalgan pulling him down. Brazilians with possession. Rogerio. He was in on that earlier scoring opportunity. Ball into touch on the far side.
Good defending there, and the thing that you don't see too much with the Brazilian team, but Saudi coaches obviously got to look out for those kind of long balls where the play is switched from one side of the field to the other. The Brazilians are very adept at this, and it's a tactic that works very well.
And when you look at these two teams, you were looking at clubs obviously in the opposite end of the soccer spectrum. This man guiding a team that is really in its infancy, I think, in the international stage, developing. And the Brazilians, obviously, I don't think they've ever missed a World Cup finals tournament.
They have never missed one, and that's why so much is expected of them. But the ironic thing is that in Saudi Arabian football in recent years, Brazilian experts have been imported to develop the game in the country. So you'll see that Saudi Arabian teams will tend to have a little bit of a Brazilian flavor to them, which is rather ironic. So it's sort of the Brazilian Arabs playing against the true Brazilian national team.
There you see an example of that throw-in rule. Brazilians with possession, the Saudis turn it over. Paulo Nunes, number 7 for Brazil, trying to come up with it. He was double-teamed. Trying to sneak in. Bernhand gets it over. Shalgan with a shot.
And there, you know, the thing that you like to see in the game of soccer, where you get players moving into wide positions and taking strikes on goal. And you see here a player that's moved outside the defender, so he's got in a great shooting position. Unfortunately, the shot was not on target, but all credit to him for getting in that shooting position.
Shalgan, the marksman, his aim not quite true on that occasion. And again, in case you just joined us, we are using the nicknames primarily for the players on both of these teams, and that is, of course, the international custom when you get a club like Brazil or Saudi Arabia. Our luck in this game, both players, both teams, with the players having extremely long names because of the customs of their respective countries.
And I've been spared the blessing of announcing the Saudi Arabian lineup thus far, Paul, because you're quite right, there's so many nicknames used for both teams. It's been very difficult to get the starting lineups and the correct names from both delegations, and hopefully we'll have the Saudi Arabian lineup very shortly.
For a couple of Smiths and Jones. Alberto trying to move it up, and number 17 Alberto will back off as the ball is turned over. Khalid with it for the Saudis.
Whenever you see free kicks in this part of the field, you don't know what to expect, because some players even try to shoot from this range, and it looks as though he's shaping up to do just that.
Alberto,
good goalkeepers,
of course,
no problem.
Alberto, of course, had that glorious scoring opportunity earlier in the match. That was waved off, ruled offside by the official.
I think actually what happened there, Paul, was the player put his hand up and sort of obstructed the goalkeeper in playing the ball, and you must allow a goalkeeper to clear the ball. You cannot obstruct him in any way.
The Brazilian keeper Carlos moving it up on the far side for Sandeo. He will return the favor to Rogerio. Alberto under some pressure, trying to get it up to Bentineo, but that is called back.
A good officiating here early in the game. Alexei Spirin, the Soviet referee, calling it tight and not standing any late tackles, which is good officiating. He's stamping his authority on the game and making sure that there is no illegal tackles early on.
Khalid forwards it up, trying to get the return on the give and go, running into again heavy traffic, getting tangled with Albea. How much pressure is there on the officials in a tournament like this?
There's a tremendous amount of pressure because one of the things, of course, is the difference in language. Here you have a referee from the Soviet Union, a Korean linesman, along with Ern Foote from Newfoundland, one of our fine Canadian FIFA officials. So you've got quite a challenge there in language, let alone interpretation of the rules. But Alexis Spirian, one of the fine FIFA officials here at the tournament.
Saudis trying to set something up. There is no score in the game. Carlos coming out to control it. Shalgan coming in for a close greeting. Carlos moves it up. Bentineo relieved of the ball. Albea. Bentineo. Knocked down. Marzouk giving the ball back to his club. Khalid. Third hand. Again, we see longer passes, I think, than you generally do in the soccer that you are likely used to watching. And I think you can account a lot of that to the youth of these players.
They tend to be taking more risks, certainly, than the senior players at this level, that is for sure. And they're a little bit raw at times. You see, with challenges like that, which really shouldn't take place, it's just a sign of inexperience. And, you know, you've got to realize these players, in most cases, 14, 15 years of age. But they can still put in heavy tackles, as we saw there with the charge in the back. Any tackling from behind, the referees have been told they've got to clamp down on it.
Still no score in the contest, and the closest we've come to a goal came just a couple of minutes in, and it was ruled offside, much to the chagrin of the Brazilians and the Brazilian fans in attendance. Shalgan marking his man closely. He was all over Assis. Gustavo eludes the tackle slightly of Shalgan. Maybe a break. Khalid. Not that time. Ball into touch on the far side.
Well, certainly, you know, the Saudis have not been overawed by the Brazilians. In the game that they played in China, the technical reports of the game said that they were really in awe of playing against a Brazilian team. Here they know what to expect. They know that they have to win tonight, and there's certainly a lot at stake, and they've settled down very well. I think we're going to be in for a fascinating tactical battle tonight.
You touch on an interesting point. We talked earlier, of course, of the pressure put on the players, the Brazilian players, when they don that familiar yellow jersey. But how much does it work for them? How much of an aura does that jersey give off, and how much does it intimidate opponents?
Well, it certainly does, you know, to a certain extent. You know, it's one of those things that in the world of soccer, when we see yellow jerseys, you know, the Brazilian teams on field, we expect a very high standard of play. And, you know, even though those players are sitting on the bench, they want to get on the field, because there's no greater pride really in Brazil than to wear that yellow jersey and represent your country. It's a great honor, more so than in many countries in the world.
And I'll tell you, that is a big difference right there. You hit on it, Dick, between soccer in Europe and in South America and around the world. The goal is to wear the national team jersey. Here in North America, the goal is to play for a club team and make a living. It's number 14, Ferdinand.
And Ferdinand plays for the Al Qadassa club in Saudi Arabia. They play for the junior teams of senior clubs, as is the case with a lot of these Brazilian players. You'll find that, for example, in this Brazilian team, that 3 of the players play for the Flamengo club of Rio de Janeiro, which is certainly one of the most famous clubs in football. So they have a tremendous development if they're playing in that kind of atmosphere.
Gustavo with the ball for Brazil. And there hasn't been a lot of concentrated action around the goals. On top of it, Mohamed for the Saudis, being pursued rather aggressively by Paulo Nunes. But the Saudis prevailing in their own zone, as they are apt to do. Marzouk, number 7, after it for the Saudis. Couldn't quite get there in time. Albea. Alberto tried to bust through. Musa out to contain the ball.
In that kind of situation, trying to exploit the pace of, one of the forwards who's got a lot of pace about him, and I think a player we've got to look out for, Alvaro. But there, 3 green shirts, 1 yellow jersey. In those kind of situations, you're not going to see the attacking player have too much luck, and that was the case before. Good defending by the Saudi Arabians.
Just under 25 to go. Of course, they play 40 minutes in this tournament, not the traditional 45 and a half. Not a bad crowd on hand, an enthusiastic crowd certainly. The green-dressed people obviously supporting the Saudis, as is the gentleman, the gentleman waving the flag. There's a little yellow flag poking out supporting the Brazilians just below, feeling a bit dwarfed, no doubt. There is no score. I'm Paul Romanuk with Dick Howard. Good to have you with us here on TSN for FIFA Under-16 World Cup action, and a tournament that is being long anticipated by soccer people here in this country.
It's certainly tremendous, for the Canadian Soccer Association to put on a tournament of this nature. It's a tremendous undertaking, and the 4 sites have been aware really of the value of this tournament that has just been developed by FIFA. This is the second such tournament, the development by President Haviland, of course, the president of the world governing body.
Carlos trying to move it out, running into problems. Shalgan with the cross, still loose. Close, very close. Saudis, there's the cross, and ricocheting and out of danger, Rogerio. And in a situation like that, he might be the goaltender's worst enemy. Well, had he deflected that, it could have been problems for Carlos.
You will certainly get problems with crosses, and the Brazilian defenders there guilty of a bad error where the first cross came into the box and he headed it back into the center again, and the shot was blocked. They were very lucky to get away with that one.
Moshaid, Khalid with the cross. Nobody there to answer. And Khalid will retreat back towards midfield and prepare for the Brazilian assault, which will be started, as is often the case, with Carlos, the goaltender.
And the goalkeeper in this kind of situation, of course, he's looking, can he find a player with a quick throw, or does he elect to push his defenders downfield, as is the case now with Carlos, and try a long clearance? You've got that choice of one or the other, and he used the clearance well there because Brazil have got possession. And
the hang time on that ball would make a football kicker envious. It was way up there. Albea dipping and diving, losing the ball though. And comes into touch on the near side. Dick, of course, you're someone who used to master that craft, goalkeeping. How underrated, how overrated is it as a position in this sport?
I think in the sport of soccer, goaltending really, it means often the difference between winning and losing, and it's certainly in a tournament of this nature, good goaltender will really keep you in games you shouldn't be in, and will make key saves that will ensure that you're going to the next round. So it's critical that there is good goaltending, and unfortunately for Brazil in recent years, they haven't had too much good goaltending, and despite the marvellous attacking play, they've had a little bit of an Achilles heel between the posts in recent years.
Anybody in this tournament who is perhaps the heir apparent to be the world's next great keeper? Because I know many soccer people feel that really in the last 4 or 5 years there hasn't been a man who has been of superstar proportions filling that position.
Probably in the world of soccer you'd look at a Peter Shilton, who is now closer to 40 than 30, to be one of the top goaltenders. You know, you mature later. He's probably at the top of his art, but there aren't too many. Desaev, the Russian, is up there, but certainly not as many as has been in the past, and there's a dearth of world-class goalkeepers.
Shalgan going to move it up there for the Arabians. Ferdinand, top of the box. Carlos is there.
But they're exceptional shot there. He's using the outside of his foot to swerve the ball into the goalkeeper. Carlos read it very well, but it's a marvelous skill to use the outside of your foot, because if you strike a ball, we'll see it coming up now in the replay, he sets up the shot, the Brazilian defender stays off him, and he elects to shoot, and hitting it with the outside of his foot, tried to bend it inside the post. Carlos very alert, covered up on the play.
Back to live action. No score. Tumble there by Albea. Mohammed will forward the ball back, or backward the ball back, if you will, and very animated Saudi bench.
Certainly is. You know, what a contrast of styles. This is this is the true global game, isn't it, when you get fans from Saudi Arabia on one bench and fans from Brazil on the other bench.
Somebody take it. Knocked away. Saudis trying to press. Khalid. He's had a strong game so far as number 2 Khalid for the Saudis. Been in on a couple of Saudi scoring attempts. And feeling his wrath there. Number 5, Albea.
Another one of the rush challenges. Now, I'd hate to see one of these resulting in a goal, but there's certainly been some unnecessary tackles that have resulted in free kicks in critical areas of the field.
Albea back up and back into the play. But the Saudis continuing to press. Mohammed, number 4, with the throw-in. Here's the cross. Shalgan couldn't get to it. And the Brazilians relieve the pressure for the time being. But only for the time being. Bernhard. Nice footwork in heavy traffic. But he was outnumbered grossly as he got closer in. And the odds very much against him. Zihad tried to drop it back, looking for some help. But the reinforcements had not yet arrived. Albea moving out for Brazil. Bad error there. Pintado coughs up the ball. Shalgan is in front, looking for the cross, but it doesn't come. Paulo Nunez thwarted, couldn't get it out of his own end. He's slow to get up back behind the play. Shalgan with the cross. It's up there, and Khalid with a glorious scoring opportunity that goes by the wayside.
An incredible scoring opportunity there. Bad goalkeeping. We see the cross coming in and a goalkeeper going for a cross, and so we call it painting the ceiling there. He really over-anticipated. He went too soon for the cross, completely misjudged it, and Khalid just needed to touch it to get it in. And here we see it coming in again. Goalkeeper going up with one hand. Bad error there by the Brazilian goalkeeper. Unfortunately, the Saudi Arabian team couldn't exploit it. Khalid, a bad mistake there in missing that goal.
He has not made too many mistakes so far in this first half. He's been in on every Saudi scoring opportunity, and they've had a couple of them. The Brazilians, I guess, coming closest. There is no score in the game. The Brazilians coming the closest to putting a digit up on the scoreboard, but the goal called back. Offside was ruled. As Musa will get back into the play, and he wants to get back quickly as the Brazilians try to move up. Not for long. Shalgin. Fernand. Shalgin. Moshahid. Trying to lay it up in there for Al-Draghi. There's one of those long passes you heard Dick refer to earlier, and so far not many of them are clicking, Dick.
Well, you've got to exploit situations when you get that 1v1. If you've got your attacking player isolated against a defender and he's got a little bit of pace about him, you've got to try and exploit that. Unfortunately, the quality of the ball from the back to the front players on the Brazilian team hasn't been as good as it should be, and that's why the Saudi Arabian defenders have covered up very well. But you've got to watch it because there's a lot of pace with these three front players of the Brazilian team, and if you give them a chance, they'll be gone.
Going back a couple of steps here, but again, I look at that field and I marvel that they are playing football out there right now, because 24 hours ago, the only part, as you may have seen in the opening, that was above the water line was that center circle where the ball is right now. It was a mess. But the field looking very playable at this point.
In fact, all credit to the drainage system of the field, because at midnight last night, all the water had gone from the field.
side will walk back into play. And he's being marked rather closely by Alberto of the Brazilian squad. There's the throw. It's up, but cleared. And the Brazilians saved for that opportunity that was called back earlier in the game. Really, I don't think Dick impressed as much as the Saudis, and that's surprising.
They certainly haven't. Saudi Arabia know they've got to get that early goal because it's going to help so much to settle the team down, and they're pushing players forward in an attempt to get that goal, and they've been very unlucky on several occasions. But Brazil, you've got to watch the counter-attack. In other words, when they have suddenly got possession of the ball in their own defending third of the field, they will get that ball up very quickly to try and catch the Saudi Arabian defense off guard. It hasn't worked thus far, but you've got to look for it.
Ferhand feeds it back. Didn't have much room to go the other way. And you can hear those drums in the background beating as the Brazilian supporters hope that they can.
Brazilian fans really are known throughout the world. They were a marvelous sight in Guadalajara in Mexico in the World Cup, and they're evident anywhere a Brazilian team is playing, and you'll always hear those drums.
Ferhand drops it back. Marzouk for 7, could not quite control it. The ball out, and the Saudis.
There's the drums. They sort of play a tempo about the game, you know, and the drums dictate that tempo, and you'll hear them whenever there's Brazilian teams playing. And
on the other side of the coin, or the other side of the field, if you will, the Saudis.
Exactly. It's tremendous. You know, if you look at the distances these fans have to travel to games, because some have come in from Saudi Arabia specifically to cheer on their teams.
Marzouk is down on the field, the training staff out to look at him, just on the near side, down towards the Brazilian goal area, and he's being tended to. And of course, in soccer, if you are not an expert on the sport, and I suspect there are a few of you looking in for interest's sake, as Gustavo goes after the ball, it is not like hockey or baseball. When an injured player is injured, that team plays without him. There is no substitution.
There is no substitution whatsoever, and in fact there are only 2 substitutes within the game. But well, you look at a game like this, and it's hard to believe that these players are 14, 15 years of age. The quality, the technical aspects of the game is tremendous, and you look at what they're going to be like in 10 years' time. We'll probably see some of them in the World Cup.
Marzouk is the man down on the field, and there's a FIFA official standing right down by there. And Dick, what would that be all about? Does this have to be watched over?
It has to be watched over. Bill Gardner there is the 4th official. He's a local referee from the Montreal area, and he has to coordinate that there are in fact only 2 people attending that player, and they have to sort of look after him and if necessary take him off for treatment.
Aziz thought he saw some room. He had Alberto with him, elected not to pass, or perhaps couldn't pass. There's that twisting and turning and nimble footwork. Abea demonstrating nicely for the Brazilians. Continues his hot pursuit of the ball, but he's thwarted this time. Khalid works it back up for Saudi. But the Brazilians will try to assemble again. Ferhand. Aldregui. Zad. Not much room. Alberto. With some help. Gustavo. Gets it up. Something breaking. Beniteno. Didn't quite have the angle.
Unfortunately, Bentinho had a horrible time on Sunday in the game. He'd missed several good opportunities, and you know, with strikers, you've got to have that confidence, and Antonio Bentinho there, plays for the Portuguese club, stubbed his toe, I think, in taking that shot, and that's not the kind of thing you want to do. He wants to get those shots on target because it's quite a good angle there, and the goalkeeper really wasn't set. He wasn't at a good angle, and he might have been able to squeeze it between him and the post.
Now, how much does the wet pitch have to do with a play like that? When the player cocks to fire and gets set to deliver his full weight behind that ball, and he's on a wet pitch, is that going to obviously hinder things?
It's actually not too wet down there. I was on the field before the game, and it's very dry. It's drained exceptionally well. I can't give that as an excuse on that occasion. Sorry, Paul.
Thought I'd try. Pinteiro. Stopped. Marzouk. Trying to move it up. Just under 10 to go in this half. Khalid, who has been present throughout this first half in a big way for the Saudi team, trying to break through there. Al Sabat. Oh! Carlos was there.
Marvelous strike on goal. Here again, using the outside of the foot, but exceptional goalkeeping by Carlos. That time, he saw it all the way, deflected it over the crossbar, but what a tremendous shot on goal here by the Saudi player. An exceptional goalkeeping to twist in midair, because that ball was swerving, it was hit with the outside of his foot, and that was a quality shot and an exceptional save by Carlos.
Number 16, Al Sabat for the Saudis, delivered the shot, and Carlos turned it back. Corner. There's the cross. Carlos standing tall again. Both literally and figuratively. He is a tall player, well suited to his position.
But a little bit of luck on that occasion, because there he got it, his fist on the ball. He's trying to punch the ball. When you punch it, you've got to get it outside the penalty area. You can't put it up again and it becomes up for grabs. And there he was fortunate to grab it again, but not good goalkeeping there. You've got to make sure those punches go outside the penalty area to clear the danger.
Zeros on the scoreboard, but opportunities, if they scored those, we would perhaps have to give the nod to the Saudis. This man has been very, very busy in this first half. Alberto for 17 up there for Brazil. Not quite. Bentinho, who had a chance earlier, also turned back. Saudis will come out. Zihad trying to find Hamoudi. But the Brazilians instead find the ball. Not much room over there.
One thing that you have to do in the game, you know, you have to use all areas of the field and use the space. And here it looks as though the Saudi Arabian team is going to substitute one of their players.
Mansour getting ready to come in, stretching on the sidelines. Going down was Marzouk with the injury earlier on.
Now that is incredible confidence. I don't think you'd see too many Canadian players attempting that, where you have a defender with all the confidence in the world just lifting the ball over the head of the attacking player into his goalkeeper's hands. Incredible arrogance in doing that. Only a Brazilian would attempt it in his own penalty area. Canadian coaches would probably tear their hair out at that.
Thought he could get it to Shalagan. And that's Khalid, number 2, down on the field for the Saudis. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we are seeing a lot of players going down with knee and shin bruises by the looks of it, because the Brazilians notorious for their use of the cleats down low.
Well, it's a physical game at the moment, because, you know, these lads are really wired up for this game. They know it's so important, and there's some quite reckless tackling on occasion, and that's why you're seeing a few players lying on the ground. But here you've got the substitution for the Saudi team.
Mansour will come in, dressed in his green silks, number 10 in the back. Carlos coming out to take matters and the ball into his own hands.
And the player that's being substituted is number 7, Marzouk.
Bentinho ball, headed off at the pass by Moshaid, who got back there with the speed of a gazelle, as he could see that starting to open up.
And there you see the referee using his linesman very well. The flag went up very early when the ball was played. There was only the goalkeeper between the Brazilian player and the goal, so it was a clear offside. Stoppage in play. Now you can get the substitution. And the good thing about soccer is that you can see a number put up by the fourth official, which indicates which player is being substituted, which certainly helps the fans and also the players on the field, obviously. Because there have been instances in games where players have refused to come off the field. If you hold the number up, it means he knows he's got to go off.
Moshaid moves it up and through. Just under 5 to go in this first half. No score between Brazil and Saudi Arabia in this Group C action from the second FIFA Under-16 World Cup tournament. I'm Paul Romanak along with Dick Howard from Claude Robillard Stadium in Montreal. Great to have you with us. A beautiful evening for soccer.
It certainly is. I just cannot imagine. I have to pinch myself. We were here yesterday and there's an incredible electrical storm, and here just perfect playing conditions in the space of 24 hours. A remarkable turnaround.
Fernand trying to feed it up into touch on the near side. Gustavo. Albert tackled by Fernand. Alberto tried to break loose, had his pocket picked. The ball gets there, he does not. Boy, he's had a good first half.
Exceptional player. He loves to attack defenders. He loves to take players on, and those kind of players, as we know from Diego Maradona, are very exciting to watch.
Alberto trying to curl that one up there, but no can do that time. And the left knee of Marzouk looks to be the trouble area. Not looks to be, it most definitely is the trouble area.
And, you know, good training. You know, you look at this kind of situation, he's got the ice packs on the knee, so he's trying to reduce the swelling of the knee. And this is, you know, good application, really, because you've got to treat injuries immediately as they happen, and then you won't have any problems, and he'll hopefully be ready for the next game.
And if you are a young athlete, then I'm sure you can identify with what he must be feeling like. It takes these teams on the average of 2 years to get to this point, to come to a tournament of this magnitude. And there he is on the sidelines in the second game. Very disappointed, I'm sure. Gustavo trying to cross it out there. Rogerio with a man coming. Mansour, who's the substitute, out in place of Marzouk, who we saw a few moments ago, injured. But Mansour could not get to the ball that time. Under 5 to go in this first half, no score. Saudi Arabia and Brazil.
And both teams, and they'd love to get a goal at this stage of the game. It's always a great time to score a goal just before half-time and go in with that one goal. And Saudi are the ones that could well score.
Nimble footwork and nimble work with the hands by Carlos as he had to thwart the scoring attempt of Shalgan.
Shalgan has really made some great moves here, and good close control. He turns on his defender, gets the shot off. It's blocked by the defender. Carlos tries to get a piece of it and eventually goes out for a corner kick. But they're really making a lot of things happen in the Brazilian defensive third, and they're looking very close to scoring goals, this Saudi Arabian team.
Lots of traffic in front for this corner. It's way too high. A giraffe might have been able to knock that down, but not a player. And the Brazilians with possession. Mario Carlos. Waiting for some help.
And in that area of the field, you try and use your goalkeeper, but the Saudi Arabian team are marking the goalkeeper, which is good, so he's got to force it downfield, and it's being picked up by the Saudi Arabian team.
Khalid with the cross. Shalgan is there, but so is Carlos.
And again, all kinds of problems in this Brazilian penalty area. Carlos is a very good line goalkeeper, as we saw about that exceptional save that he made, but he's very vulnerable on crosses, and several balls have been played in. He hasn't really picked them up, and there have been a few problems, and certainly the Saudi Arabian team are trying to exploit this with regards to the weakness of the Brazilian goalkeeper on cross balls.
Khalid with the cross, another chance at the corner. That one's a little bit lower than their last attempt, but again, nobody unmarked in front where the traffic very heavy. And the Brazilians will once again try to set up shop in their own zone and move that ball downfield. There is no score. The Saudis in their green silks, going from your left to right, and the Brazilians in their brilliant yellow silks, going from your right to left.
Rather a reckless throw there by the goalkeeper. He threw it out to his player. He was marked by the Saudi Arabian, and he got a foul. The referee called half-time, but not the kind of risks you want to see taken. This Saudi Arabian team, they've done very well in this first.
Both teams heading off to their respective dressing rooms. The fans will continue to whoop things up. There is no score. Brazil and Saudi Arabia. You're watching FIFA Under 16 World. Oh, I'd say 2 feet under anyways. But the field ready for
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سيداتي سادتي مرحبا بكم من مونتريال، وأرجو أن يكون صوتي مسموعا وواصلا إليكم بعد هذا الخلل الفني. الآن الكرة في وسط الملعب وبدأت
in the early going. Quickly, however, they're turned back, and Khalid, one of the gentlemen we talked about as being so predominant in that first half, forwarding the ball down for the Saudis.
Doesn't look as though there's been any substitutions at all on the part of the Brazilian team or the Saudi Arabian team. As I mentioned before, only 2 substitutes allowed, so you really don't want to use your second substitute early in the second half. One interesting statistic here that's come forward from Valerio Getzola, who is kindly helping us from the Quebec Soccer Federation. The Saudi Arabians, 5 shots on goal to 2 by Brazil, 4 corner kicks for the Saudi Arabian team. Shows you how much they've dominated that first half.
But the Brazilians will come in. There's the cross. Nunez, close, oh so close, but Musa had other ideas.
What a cross ball here, but what a marvellous diving header. And here we see the use of a cross ball to the far post. A lot of crosses were played into the near post. Here, a player on the far post comes in, marvellous diving header. Great goalkeeping there to cover the header.
Back to live action as the ball is knocked in, and Carlos, perhaps a little bit too far out of the goal. That ball arcing over top of him. And that brought a gasp from the crowd. And Carlos, with a few words to some of
خالد مسعد بيلعب في الوسط، وعبد الله تريجي ومحمد الفرحان، وما في الهجوم موسى مرزوق وتركي زياد ومحمد الشجان. طبعا موسى تاثر شويه وطلع ونزل مع حلو منصور موينه، ودي رفعه ارضيه بتصدم، بترجع مره ثانيه للخلف. مساعد الصرير ياخذها وينطلق بها وتطلع رميه جانبيه لصالح منتخبنا. زي ما احنا عارفين انه هذه البطوله هي البطوله الثانيه لناشئين تحت 16 سنه، وهجمه بترفع الكره دي مره ثانيه، ويلا منصور بيضمها، وطبعا بتتلعب تنقطع مره ثانيه، والفرحان اللي بذل ايضا هو وزملائه صوره طيبه، وهذه هجمه خلينا نتابعها. طبعا يظهر ان الشوط ده هيكون اكثر حماس واستعداد طبعا، وزي ما احنا عارفين انه فريقنا ومنتخبنا ايضا خطا بشويش اخوانا بشويش. على كل فرصة الآن إن احنا نتكلم ونديكم بعض المعلومات اللي حصلت. طبعا كل المجموعات، طبعا الكأس العالم ده هو الكأس الثاني اللي بتتلعب، وكانت المسابقة الأولى في الصين، وزي ما احنا عارفين عندنا 4 مدن بتتلعب. المجموعة الأولى بتتلعب في تورنتو، فيها قطر ومصر وكندا وإيطاليا، وبعد ما اتلعبت المباراتين لكل فريق أصبح ترتيب تلك المجموعة إيطاليا الأولى وقطر الثانية ومصر الثالثة وكندا الرابعة. المجموعة الثانية اللي بتتلعب في سان جون اللي هي بيقولوا نيو برونزويك. دي فيها امريكا وكوريا الجنوبيه وساحل العاج والاكوادور، واصبحت نتائجها كالاتي: ساحل العاج وامريكا والاكوادور وكوريا، وقاموا اللاعبين ايضا المنتخبين. ومجموعتنا طبعا المجموعه الثالثه اللي في مونتريال اللي هي السعوديه واستراليا والبرازيل وفرنسا. ولسه ان شاء الله اليوم طبعا المباراه حقتنا هذه والمباراه اللي بعدها، ومن بعدها حيبان الترتيب بعد اليوم الثاني. والمباراه الرابعه والمجموعه الرابعه اللي هي عباره عن نيجيريا والمكسيك وبوليفيا والاتحاد السوفيتي، وترتيبها روسيا الاولى ونيجيريا الثانيه. طبعا عندهم 3 نقاط كل واحد، وبوليفيا واخذ نقطه والمكسيك برضه نقطه. في تسلل من النتائج اللي كانت موجوده عندنا على عبد الله شريده كابتن منتخبنا اللي يلعب الكره دي طويله قدام لمنصور موانع، بيلعبها قدام تنقطع. وقلت انه الشوط الاول انتهى بالتعادل بدون اهداف، والان كره مع الفريق البرازيلي وكره طويله قدام بيجري عليها عبد الله شريده، لكن بيسيبها الجهه الثانيه لمساعد الطرير، بياخذها بيلمها لكن بتنقطع منه، بترجع مره ثانيه بياخذها منصور موانع ومساعد بعد يمساعد الكره دي بسرعه على طول وما في داعي نلف وندور، وتطلع الكره دي بعيده ويزيل خطرها. اليوم طبعا عندنا احتياطي حسن خليفه وسعد العنيدي وحمودي اللي هو محمد بن مسعود والصيني ومنصور موانع اللي نزل محل زميله موسى مرزوق. دي كرة بتتلعب على طول وتروح عند نمرة 5 ألف من البرازيل وهجمة برازيلية. وزي ما شفتوا يمكن كنتوا بتتابعوا الصورة أكثر ما في صوت، في خطأ على خالد، في خطأ ضربة مباشرة مرة مباشرة. حتى الساعة اللي في الاستاد هنا خربانة، ولكن حوالي 5 دقائق الاستاذ علي داوود مدير عام المنتخبات جالس امامنا وبيرشد لي انه 5 دقائق مرة من الشوط الثاني. طبعا احنا عارفين انه زمن كل شوط 40 دقيقة لان هذه المباريات تحت 16 سنة وحيلعبها نمرة 4 7 بتتلعب ناحية المرمى عالية وتطلع برا. ده اكثر لاعب عندهم في الهجوم طويل سريع اسمه انطونيو، ده انطونيو، وتتحط الكرة دي ادي انطونيو مكتوب 9. طبعا هو مكتوب هنا كل واحد من البرازيل دول عنده اسم طبيعي واسم فني زي ما يقولوا، اسم بيتحط في السكور، ولكن رسمين فلاين ومديننا هم وحاطين على كل فلينة رقم. عندي مكتوب بميتينو واسم طبعا مش موجود في اسمه، لكن زي احنا ما بنقول موسى مرزوق ويطلع كان طلع من شويه او في الشوط الاول طلعت لكم صوره مكتوب فيها موسى الحربي، والناس عارفه عندنا بموسى مرزوق، ولذلك في اسامي رياضيه احيانا بتتغلب على الاسم الشخصي او اسم يعني معروف به. خالد مسعد، خالد ماشي، يلا يا خالد يلا ماشي، ويديها للشلقان ويفوت الشلقان، برافو الشلقان، يلا وبيلعب كره طويله قدام بعيده كثيره عن الزملاء، ما تمكن منها ولا قدر يعمل كنترول عليها وسقط على الارض وبيعتذر من الزملاء. المره الجايه نبغاها احسن، ترجع مره كره ثانيه، المره دي بياخذها تركي وبيحاول تركي وشوف المرمى. يا سلام، ما ادري ايش يسوي عشان الكره تخش. شفتوا الشوط الاول الكره فين راحت في المقص، وشوفوا هذه الشوطه كيف كانت سريعه وعلى طول لعبها بيتغلب عليها، بس يا ريتها كانت شمال ولا يمين وكانت تقدر تخش هذه الكوره. اليوم مباراه كبيره لازم تنتهي ان شاء الله لصالحنا والكل مستعد لها، واولادنا الحمد لله زي ما انتم شايفينهم بيلعبوا مباراه اكبر من كبيره، بيلعبوا كوره سعوديه نظيفه في المظهر في المستوى في الاداء ننسى السمعة الطيبة اللي كسبها منتخبنا السعودي في مونتريال في المباراة السابقة، واللي تحصل عليها فيها ذا بيست تيم او الفريق الاحسن بالنسبة للاربع الفرق اللي كانت لعبت يومها. احنا عارفين انه مباراة البرازيل وفرنسا اللي كانت اول يوم اتاخذ فيها 6 كروت وواحد منهم كارت طرد للبرازيل. وشفت المباراة الكبيرة اللي احنا قدمناها والمجهود الكبير، لكن الكرة غدارة في ثانية واحدة دخل فينا هدف، واحنا كنا 79 دقيقة كنا مسيطرين على اللعب، ولكن في الدقيقة الواحدة اللي اتحطت فيها الكرة وجات الكرة مدورة. هذه كرة جميلة بيلعبها الفرحان، تطول على تركي، تتاخذ على قلب الدفاع خطير وكبير، وهو نفس الوقت بتلعب كرة سريعة وممتدة، خش بيجري محمد فريج يلا ويفوت. لكن انا قلت انه ماريو لاعب خطير وظهير جامد، وماريو بيلعب الظهير مو بسهولة نقدر نفوت منه، لذلك يجب انه نضحك عليه ونحاول نلعب الكرة اول باول. كرة طويلة بتتلعب ياخذها كابتن منتخبنا شريدة، يرجعها مرة ثانية وتروح الكرة في الوسط وتتلعب. يلا منصور من بعيد يلعبها حلوة وترجع مرة ثانية، يلا شلقان يا الله، ترجع مرتدة شلقان، ترجع كرة مرتدة من حارس المرمى كارلوس اللي انقذ مرماه مرتين، مرة هناك. شوف الكرة دي اللي حتى تتلعب ناحية المرمى من منصور موينة ويطيح فيها حارس المرمى، والشلقان هنا يطلعها برا وتطلع برا. وجالية كبيرة إسلامية سعودية موجودين، سعوديين طلاب وعوائلهم. هارد لاك انا ما ادري ايش يسوي. قالوا اهل الامثال اديني قراب حظ وارميني في البحر. احنا ما نبغى البحر، احصاء البحر اللي كنا عايشين فيه امبارح هنا. امبارح كان من كثر الامطار وشده الامطار معنا مترجمنا الجزائر قال الغرق يا سيدي، لكن الحمد لله ربنا نجانا. كرة طلعت برا وطلعت رمية جانبية الجهة الثانية، والشمس طلعت اليوم. وزي ما احنا عارفين المباراة الأولانية كنا نلعبها في جو 32 حرارة كانت شديدة ورطوبة، اليوم الحرارة 26 والجو جميل. هذه لقطة الاحتياط البرازيلي، والشمس طالعة وراح السحاب الكثيف اللي كان كله راعد وطواقع امس وطيح الشجر وانقطعت الكهرباء ومنهم كهرباء الساعة اليوم. هجمة مرتدة، يلا يا اخوانا هذه الفرحان، يلا يا فرحان نبقى نفرح، نلعب كرة طويلة قدام ياخذ الشلقان وداخل منطقة الجزاء وبيحاول وداخل ويلعب الارض ويطلعها ماريو تساوي ماريو، والفرحان مرة ثانية وتصدم وتطلع ركنية وهجوم مواصل ومتواصل زي ما في كل مرة. انا بس ابغى وقت كده اقرا لكم احصائية صغيرة على المباراة السابقة. احنا شفنا 17 شوطة على مرمى استراليا، هم شاطوا 4 شوطات بالضبط. هذه احصائية ما بقولها انا من عندي، هم بدونها هي بدون